let's do it. This is October edition of What's Happening at the Boat Shop. I'm your host, Graham McKay, the director here at Lowell's, and it's October. We got the wood stove going. It's kind of the first cold day. I didn't get the memo. But what are we doing? Let's see. It's October, so we're coming into our fall haul. We're coming into holiday open house season. All of that Q4 stuff for us anyway. Saturday, October 18th, we'll have our annual fall haul, weather permitting, of course. And we had to cancel it once because of a big nor'easter, but fingers are crossed here. Big rowing race. If you've never been and you haven't been to the boat shop in a while, it's a good day to come. We have a cookout, beer, live music, and a whole bunch of boats here, and a rowing race that happens right out in front of the shop. You can watch the whole thing happen, and it's a pretty good time. And then as we walk around, you'll see all kinds of boxes everywhere. That's all merchandise coming in for our holiday open house, which is the first weekend in December, which I believe is the 6th and the 7th. We have a late Thanksgiving this year, and so we have a late holiday open house this year. So that's the general stuff that's going on. I will be teaching a boat building class in early November. If anybody wants to learn to build a little peapod dory, we'll do that. And we have a whole host of other classes, a build your own bench, some other woodworking type classes, and we're always trying to add more. So keep an eye on those, keep tuned in here, keep an eye on the website. The best thing you can do is sign up for our emails. That'll always tell you when stuff like that's going to happen. But I am not teaching up in Kittery this year, which frees up my time a little bit to teach a class this fall here, which is kind of nice, even though on any given day there's too much to do. And so let's get into the too much to do. Look, this is right here handy. Let's look at this. What's this hard chine thing? This is a Point Comfort 18. So we've got an order for one of these, and this is a Doug Hyland design. And Doug Hyland is up in, where is he? He's up on the Benjamin River in, where?
Brooklyn.
Is that Brooklyn still?
Yeah.
I thought it was Sedgwick.
On the other side of the river.
Oh, okay. That's the dividing line. So he's up in Brooklyn, Maine. And, oh yeah, there it is right there on the plans. It's a handsome little dead rise, sort of a Chesapeake Bay design, and this will be built in the other room. And this is, again, a little bit of a deviation for us. This is a plywood and epoxy kind of thing, but still not dissimilar from our own Amesbury skiff in shape and design. So you guys will see that coming together here in the next several months. Coming over here, you're going to see something kind of crazy. So I keep calling this the basket mold. Traditional plank-on frame construction is sometimes called basket-style construction. You build the frame, and then you build the plank. So this here is a mold to the inside of the frame. And now that sounds kind of crazy, but what we've done is cut out all of our molds and then attach them. These are called rib bands, not ribbons, but rib bands. And these tie the whole works together and create a sense of the shape of the boat, like the outer skin, although this is inside. And then what we'll end up doing is we'll steam bend our oak frames over the top of all this, and then we'll plank over the top of all that. So this shape is going to grow 2 inches in all dimensions out from here. So we started to get the frame positions laid out because it is fairly specific in this boat relative to the rig and the mast steps and the rowing stations and all that. So we're trying to get that as spot on as we can. And then I have been hunting around the neighborhood for some natural grown knees. So I was actually in my sister and brother-in-law's backyard the other day cutting up an old locust stump, trying to get a knee out of it. So what I'm looking for is some kind of a grown knee, probably to take up this section of this stem. Ideally, it would go right all the way down to here and up into the stem, and then I could make that out of a separate part. But I haven't figured out how I'm going to put it together yet without having that knee in hand, because I don't quite know the rest of the pieces that I need. But as soon as we're done talking here, I'm going to take a curved bit of locust up to one of our instructors for our apprentice program has a little mill, so we're going to take it up there and slice that up and see what's in it. So hopefully it'll be part of this as well. But we're getting into that sort of phase here where we need to start making some backbone structure. Next thing we'll do is we'll start bending some of these frames on to start to achieve the outside shape. And then it seems a bit odd, but once those frames are on, then we can sort of determine where the keel goes, because we're building, from the very inside out. And then ideally as we go, we'll start to take these rib bands off as we plank. So we only have the frames left. So that's what's going on here, the very beginnings. One of the hard parts is, so once we get this thing all rib banded up like it is, we're gonna have to string a string from one end to the next. It's gonna be hard to keep this boat set up and true in this old wooden shop throughout the season. So as it gets cold, which it's doing now, snow loads on the roof, that kind of a thing, it has the potential to take the shape and change it as the building moves. And so we have put it together in such a way that we can adjust for building movement, which we're going to have to constantly be keeping an eye on. And we're getting used to the very long walk around this whole thing, which we're doing here. And we can walk over there, but what you're going to see over there is the beginnings of another Mohonk skiff. So Mohonk Mountain House looking for another boat this year as well. So we're going to start that. That's all, it's already started. We've got bottom, transom, stem, frames, and garboards. So that boat's pretty much ready to be set up, stuck together, get in frame, and then plank. So so my talented camera woman here has posed the question, what the heck happens here? Because clearly you've got a keel that runs along the backbone, gets to here, and then this goes whoop, like that. So there will be a stern post type thing that goes here up to the keel. And then the keel is going to come in somewhere like so. And so the frames would come up and really come into vertical against each other like this and be side by each in the boat. That's how I've seen it done, kind of a box keel. It seems to me to be a bit weak back there. And so my intention here is to, once I establish this stern post and keel line and I get some frames bent in so that I know where the inside of my plank is, because right now the inside of my plank is somewhere out here, then I'm gonna block this up with some dead wood to fill that space so water doesn't collect and rot doesn't happen, and then shape it to the shape of the boat and then plank on top of that. So and again, in some of the extant boats that I have seen, these frames will actually come up, kind of cross over each other like that where the keel is, and you end up with, it's a little bit less severe, but you end up with a couple of frames like so with planks on the outside. The keel of this is only 2 inches wide, which is pretty skinny for a long boat like this, but it doesn't do a whole lot in this boat. It's the main lateral resistance when you're sailing. which a keel generally is. But aside from that, structurally, a 2-inch by 4-inch keel isn't keeping this thing very stiff. And so a lot of that structure's in the rail, and we're going to try to add a little bit of stiffness with some oak garboards, so we can tie that whole thing together in sort of like an I-beam shape, and keep this thing a little bit stiffer along the length. But what happens here, and I will be truly honest with y'all, what happens here is a bit of a mystery to me even right now, because it's hard to visualize. There'll be a stern post and dead wood and a knee, but it'll all come together once we have established what our frame shape is going to be. And so back in here, what we're going to have to do is lay in a sort of a faux keel, basically a rib band in place of the keel, because we're going to need something to clamp these frames to when we bend them in. But it's also going to help us tie this all together in the way that it eventually wants to be. And so the lofting for this is the body plan. I've drawn in some of these shapes, but and there is a lofting for how the stern piece all comes together, but it shows keel, stern post, and then a little knee, which you can do, and I would love to do, but I'd love to do it with a really fat knee that you could then shape to accept the garboards. So I am hunting for that. If anyone's got a big old knee in their yard, preferably locust, or I guess in a pinch white oak, then I would consider using that. But I think primarily what it's going to end up being is a combination of a smaller knee and some deadwood. So a lot of times in the classes that I teach, the boat comes together, especially a dory or a skiff like that, will come together by eye. And I think when people go to build a boat on their own, they get held up by not knowing how to do a particular step, or, you know, in this case, not quite knowing how this is all going to come together. In this case, like, I know how it's going to come together in terms of I know what needs to be here, and I know from this now where it needs to be. It's more so I could spend a few hours in the lofting and get this all figured out and get my pieces all made and all stuck on here. But it's just as easy to get this all together and figure it out here in place so that it all fares together. It reminds me of when I was young and had that thought myself. Harold Burnham was trying to give me a Friendship sloop that he put a new stern post in, and he had put, the planks were all hanging there, and the stern post was in, and there was no real structure in back aft to dictate anything, a rabbet, anything like that. And I'm like, what do you do? And he's like, well, I just, you know, cut a rabbet and make it all fair and stick it together. And it's like, well, of course that's what you do. But to me, it was like, oh, I got to figure this all out, and I need to put some frames in here, and I need to put some floors in there and make it all what it's supposed to be. But you know, the reality is it was all there, dictated by the planks that were left, and all I needed to do was make it all fit together. Sort of the same thing here. The shape is dictated. I just need to get it all faired in so that everything works. But I think the other thing to know, or the other peculiarity, is knowing that, like, a 2-inch wide keel is pretty skinny for a boat like this, and so I'm trying to add some structure. Not that I have the hubris to think that I know better than the French boat builders that made the original Bantry Bay gigs, but maybe I know how hard that Atlantic Challenge is going to use these, and so we want it to be as beefy as possible.